How you doing, everybody? My name is Octavius Von Blount. I'm the coordinator for the Mayor's Office of Black Male Engagement. We're here with another Spotlight series where we highlight black men in the city of Philadelphia that do great work and how also that they impact black men and boys. We're here with the man that everyone knows. His name is Pastor Waller. And how you doing, Mr. Pastor Waller?
I'm good. How are you, bro?
I'm well. I'm a little tired, but
Okay.
today's going really well.
Good,
There's a couple questions I'm going to ask you today. Who you are, what you do, and how you impact black men and boys. But first, if no one knew you and they didn't know the hat that you wear, what kind of person would they say you would be?
If you didn't know me, what kind of person? Well, I'm a pastor. I pastor the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church here in the what they call the Uptown, Northwest section of Philadelphia. I've been here for 24 years. I'm married. I have two grown daughters, one son-in-law, and I still think I can play basketball.
Okay.
I still think I'm a sportsman. And I love people. That's me at my core. I love my family. I think if you're going to be a pastor, you have to love the species called human beings.
I like that.
Because, that's what we're called to do. We're not called to necessarily grow churches or anything. We're called to love people. And I choose to do that through really focusing on men and children. And so I'm grateful to be a part of this conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I know you said you love people.
Yeah.
I read up on you, did some research. I know you said that you have a passion for child development.
Yes.
Going off of that, how do you think, as a pastor, you impact black men and boys in your church and maybe outside the church?
Okay. Well, number one, I believe a couple of things. I believe that when dealing with boys or with children, ministry is trauma management and exposure.
Okay.
At the end of the day, that's what it means to deal with youth. Trauma management, help them make sense out of the nonsense of living in the largest, poorest city in the country, living with the national dialogue that's going on and all of the racial tension that is ensuing, and then exposure.
Yeah.
If a child can see it, and I'm not trying to sound like Jesse now, but that really is true.
Yeah.
If my mind can conceive it and I dare to believe it, with God's help, I can achieve it. If a child can see the thing, they can reach out to it. And I think that part of my responsibility is to expose children to possibilities.
Okay.
Make the connections between the math class and the job at Merck.
Okay.
Make the connection between the English class and politics, and expose them to their possibilities. Also with men, I had sort of a aha moment that has impacted me for most of my ministry. Back in the 90s when you were born, there were two major men movement, but neither of them touched me totally. So you had the Promise Keeper movement. That was the Christian movement of men making promises to be better husbands.
Yeah.
But it was primarily right-wing conservative white men that was Christocentric, and I am a Christian, so that part spoke to me. But at the end of every meeting, they wanted you to become Republican and vote for the Bushes and have conservative positions on abortions and LGBT and so forth. So that didn't totally fit. On the other hand, there was a Million Man March.
Yeah.
And that spoke sociologically to me, but it wasn't Christ-centered. Okay. And so for me, both of those movements, I said, as a black Christian, there needs to be something that is my voice. And that's where the movement that I sort of represent, the Righteous Warrior movement, came out of it, because I am an African American Christian.
Yes.
That doesn't fit in either political camp, nor does it fit in the movements that were afoot at the time. And what I've tried to do is call men to be their best selves, knocking down some of the former understandings of Jesus as sort of a weak, skinny guy that just sort of laid on the cross. But I'd like to think that what we are trying to do is help men see that the Bible is relevant, being saved is relevant, but it doesn't neuter you. So also all the statistics about church growth are in, you know, when a woman comes to Christ, about 57% of the time her family will follow. When children come to Christ, about 75% of the time the family will follow. But when men come to Christ, 97% of the time the family follows. It just stands that if we have a men's movement, that is going to statistically have a better opportunity of the redemption of family and community, even without getting into some of the old chauvinistic stuff. Because the other side, I am a conservative Christian, but that doesn't mean I don't believe in women in ministry or don't believe that women can be leaders or all of that. I believe in the full egalitarian teaching of the Bible, that we are completely equal before God and of value, but that there is a particular way that I believe God responds to men and therefore responds to our community. And so that has been sort of where I live, even down to an understanding of self-defense. I believe that Jesus teaches self-defense. Jesus dealt with aggression in 3 different ways. One time in Bethany, they tried to stone him and he ran away. One time he walks into the temple and he picks up a whip because he says, "You're turning my dad's house into a house of thieves," and he drives them out. He stands and fights. And then one time he said, "I'm going to let you all win today. For the good of the kingdom, I got to lose today." Jesus ran, Jesus fought, and Jesus let the other side win. And I think that what real men do, or real people do, is we let God tell us which one of those strategies we should use. Sometimes the best thing you can do is run away from the fight. Don't engage, get out of there. Sometimes, like right now in the political realm and right now with what's going on, we've got to stand and fight for our community. And sometimes strategically, you let them win. Sometimes you let it go because you know victory's coming another way. Jesus could die on Friday because he knew Sunday was coming. And so that for me is a theology of self-defense. That's what we try to teach men. That's what we try to teach people. And that really is what a piece of what it means to live the code of the righteous warrior. And so that's what I try to do. And through Bible study and through modeling and through being in the community, you know, men in general have a jaundiced eye towards the church. And in Philadelphia in particular, because of the history of Malcolm X and Mosque Number 12, and the black church's inability to handle the rage of the black man in the late 60s, there was an exodus of black men from Christianity and a rise in Islam. In fact, today, 30% of Philadelphia in our community are Islamic. I celebrate that faith, and I completely understand it. And I don't view that as the enemy, but I do view some of those statistics as the failure of the black church to speak boldly and confidently to black male angst and anger, and how we can embrace spirituality without a hyper-feminism. And so that's kind of where I live. That's what I'm trying to do, and how we're trying to make a difference in Philadelphia. Now,
I know you said a lot. I'm going to try to like snatch some things out. As far as exposure that you talked about with young black men, as far as 3 defense mechanisms that you talked about. Before I let you go, could you explain how that could be a good impact for black boys in the world that we live in today?
Exposure. I believe that young black boys are gifted and can do what they see. I like to use as an example, when I was growing up, the first instrument I played was the trumpet. But because I was in a conservative house, I didn't see where the trumpet was going to take me. I played it for a little while, but my father didn't listen to jazz.
Okay.
And I wasn't exposed. And in the black church back then, you didn't see too many trumpets.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't long before I put it down. Now, the piano, I started playing around the same time, and I've played for the last 40 years.
Okay.
Why? Because my mother played it. I saw it in church. I saw where it applied. I went with what I had seen. And I believe that black boys can do that with anything if they see it. So I try to bring men and women into the community so they can see a black boy needs to see a pilot. I went and got my pilot's license just so I could show young black boys and they could touch a pilot. And I showed them an airplane. I don't own an airplane or anything like that. But I brought the Tuskegee Airmen in, and I had them meet them. I told them, you know, it took me 2.5 years to get my license. And the only reason I did it was to say, if I can do it, you can do it too. Because there's a whole world for every one plane that's in the air. There are like 150 jobs on the ground in aviation. And so I believe that when you show a young boy what is out there, he can begin to see himself in that space. But if he doesn't see anything, he won't be anything. So that's what exposure means to me.
Okay. Now I do want to say thank you for coming in. I'm not the last person you'll be talking to. You'll be talking to Jack Drummond, our director. He's going to ask you a few more questions. If you don't mind to stay a little bit longer. Is that
Absolutely.
Okay?
I look forward to it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, bro.